Are you tired of everyone influencing you on social media? Let me de-influence you. Hello everyone, Lou here. This video is gonna be about my first impressions of the new Panasonic Lumix L10. Let me preface this by saying that Panasonic did not send this camera to me. I bought it with my own money. This video is not sponsored and all opinions are my own. I'm not being paid to say anything specific about this camera. First, let's go over a few important specs. The camera has a full-frame equivalent 24 to 75mm f1.7 to 2.8 Leica lens, a multi-aspect 20.4 megapixel BSI CMOS sensor, and can record video at up to 5.6K in 10-bit. Let's start with something that I'm really disappointed by, right out of the gate. The camera's build quality is probably the biggest reason I can't recommend it. It just doesn't feel sturdy enough. Right out of the box, I thought it was made of all plastic, especially the lens barrel. I checked Panasonic's website and it's supposed to be all metal with a magnesium alloy body. Making the lens barrel casing this light and hollow could be a technological marvel. I'm not sure, but it doesn't inspire much confidence. I'm literally worried about accidentally banging it against something and ending up with an expensive repair. This actually happened a long time ago with my Sony RX100 Mark VII. That said, the camera doesn't feel terribly cheap, it just doesn't feel premium either. I like how some of the Fuji cameras use an aluminum top plate which is very resistant to scratches and dings. And to make matters worse, this camera isn't weather sealed. With the lens extending out very long, the lack of weather sealing really makes durability questionable. Sure, you could put a plastic bag over it or buy a dedicated camera cover, but that also increases the chance of fumbling around with the camera. And because it's not weather sealed, dusty environments could also be an issue. The lens constantly extending and retracting in those environments could become a problem pretty quickly. I was genuinely worried about swinging this camera around in this packed arcade. People are having fun, playing games, and their arms are flailing in the air, you know, all it takes is one wrong move for someone to hit your camera, or for you to drop it straight onto the floor. I've owned Lumix cameras since the early days of Micro Four Thirds and I loved them. They were really nice everyday carry cameras back when EDC cameras weren't really a thing. In the past, I owned the GF1, GX1, GM1, and a few others. They were all built really well. You could feel the sturdiness in your hands. I also had the LX3, which I sold to my best friend from college. She took the camera around the world and it took one heck of a beating, but somehow survived all her clumsiness. Needless to say, she absolutely loved that camera and really enjoyed having it with her. So maybe L10 is sturdier than it looks? I'll have to see in the future. I've watched a lot of reviews saying that this is a photography first camera, but I actually disagree. I think it's a great video camera, but only a so-so photography camera. The low light performance for one isn't particularly impressive. At its heart, this is a Micro Four Thirds camera, which has a sensor with roughly a quarter of the area of a full-frame sensor. So naturally, you're going to have some limitations when it comes to low light performance and high contrast scenes. And I have to say, the image quality coming out of this camera is pretty mid. It's not bad by any means, but I think there's room for improvement, especially once you go beyond 50mm. The images don't look particularly sharp, and the transitions between light and dark don't look very smooth. There is also a noticeable lack of micro contrast. Even in good light, the highlights can blow out on occasion, and once you get into low light situations, things start to fall apart. Around ISO 1600 to 3200, colors start to lose tonality, and the shadows start to look pretty muddy. On the other hand, this is a pretty high-spec video camera in a compact and portable body. Just look at all these options under recording quality. That's way more options than my full-frame Sony a7C II offers. You can record 5.6K 10-bit video at up to 300 megabits per second. And the internal microphone is actually decent, but the stabilization is something that falls a bit short. Which leads me to my next point of disappointment, optical image stabilization. While the camera does have O.I.S, I don't find it that effective. I don't know how many stops it's supposed to compensate. My guess is about 1 to 2 stops depending on the focal length. Of course, it's better than having no stabilization at all. For video, there's also digital stabilization available, but that's not particularly effective either. I mean, I do have shaky hands, but most of the footage I took has quite a bit of jitter. And if you want to operate the zoom while recording, it's obviously even worse. So please note that I've added additional stabilization in post-processing to all of the L10 footage you're seeing here. This problem only applies if you don't have any 43mm filters like me. L10 has 43mm filter thread, and to use the filters I already own, I tried using a step-up ring, but unfortunately, sometimes the camera doesn't seem to like it. Occasionally, if I screw on the step-up ring, even slightly too tightly, the camera keeps giving me an error message telling me to turn off. As you have seen, the lens zoom speed is also painfully slow. If you're accustomed to zooming in on your smartphone with your fingers, this will definitely be annoying. For example, this is DJI Osmo Pocket 3's zoom speed. I wish Panasonic offers faster zoom speeds via firmware update. Right now, you basically just have H and L, more like normal and slow. I had thought that changing the setting to step zoom would definitely be faster, but nope, not at all. Now, to the point of contention, price. The Micro Four Thirds system is so expensive at full retail price, like what the hell? Fujifilm's recent price hikes almost seem reasonable compared to Micro Four Thirds. That said, Olympus and Panasonic cameras do tend to get discounted pretty heavily later on, unlike Fuji cameras. They also tend to depreciate quite a bit more, so that's something to consider when purchasing. You can grab a used one for a lot less money. With this level of image quality and price tag, there are plenty of other options to choose from. The Sony RX100 Mark VII is still a very viable option, and it can also shoot 4K. It has a slightly smaller sensor, but it's genuinely pocketable, and that lens reaching 200mm is awesome. The Fujifilm X106 is only a few $100s more, and it's very well built, and you can make it weather sealed with the addition of a physical filter. Speaking of pocketability, as a compact camera, I feel like this should be pocketable, but it's pretty bulky, probably because of all the video capabilities packed inside. You could fit it into a jacket pocket, but realistically, I think it's best used with a neck strap. All that said, is this a terrible camera? Not at all. It's actually pretty capable. Let me share some of the things I like about this camera. First is customizable LUTs, lookup tables. When I used Lumix cameras in the past, there were no LUTs. Now they do, and with the L10, you can add custom LUTs and pick whatever look you want while shooting. To test this out, I downloaded a few LUTs from Russ and his JPEGs. Shout out to his awesome creations. On the L10, it's really easy to use them. First, you load them up in the camera, then you just press this LUT button and tap on whichever look you like. and you can actually customize a LUT you downloaded to your liking by adjusting the opacity, shadows, highlights, and so on. If you don't like post-processing, this is a great tool for recording your daily life and getting the look you want straight out of camera. I particularly like how easy it is to access log shooting. Just tap this and you're shooting in Vlog. This switch also lets you choose between slow motion and quick motion video right at your fingertips. Just remember that there is no HDMI port, so don't think about using an external monitor. At least there is a microphone port, so you can use an external microphone, like I have done here. Moving on to menu navigation. The touch function on this camera makes navigating the menu super convenient and easy. Just tap, tap, tap away. It's very responsive with absolutely no noticeable lag, and the transitions are very smooth. But the touch function is also kind of a double-edged sword because it's so easy to accidentally change or mess up your settings. If you don't like that, you can simply turn the touch function off and configure the 5 custom settings on the mode dial to compensate. The autofocus is generally fast and snappy, although occasionally it does struggle to lock focus quickly. I also like the viewfinder. The specs say it has a 0.39-inch OLED live viewfinder with 2.36 million dots, which isn't the highest resolution by today's standards, but somehow it surprisingly feels pretty roomy and very clear when you're looking through it. The focal length range of L10's lens is also practical and useful. It covers 24mm to 75mm, which is a really nice range for travel. And I like having an f2.8 maximum aperture at 75mm, especially when shooting indoors or in lower light situations. And lastly, the battery life is actually decent. It doesn't drain too quickly, even when I'm shooting 4K video on and off for a few hours. But it's not a long-lasting battery either. One tiny complaint is that this camera didn't come with a charging block, nor a charging cable, so have a USB-C cable lying around somewhere in your house. The heat dissipation is also better than I expected. I noticed that the camera doesn't get too warm too quickly even when I'm shooting outside under bright sunlight. So, my final thoughts. If I'm being brutally honest, I'm disappointed. Yes, my take is probably controversial, but I don't think this camera is worth the price tag, at least not for photography. I think it makes much more sense as a video camera. The quick access to LUTs, all the video recording options, and the compact form factor make this a pretty good option for a casual vlogger or someone who likes making videos of their day-to-day life or their family. And the fully articulating screen makes it easy for selfies and videos. This might sound ironic, but if you're really gung-ho about getting a brand new point-and-shoot camera at full retail price, I'd actually suggest getting a Sony RX107 instead. I love that thing. It was way more useful to me, especially with that 200mm zoom reach. Or you can go for the Lumix S9. It's full frame, it's tiny, and it's cheap as heck, for a full frame camera anyway. If you absolutely need foolproof weather sealing, pick an Olympus Micro Four Thirds camera like the OM5 Mark II or OM3. The Panasonic Lumix L10 is a great travel camera if you can overlook the price, the slow zoom speed, a bit mediocre image quality, and lack of weather sealing, because the relatively fast aperture lets you take photos and videos in low light situations and indoors. And the easy application of LUTs is definitely a plus if you want to get the look you want straight out of camera, or use it as a starting point for editing. These are just my first impressions, not an in-depth review. In the coming weeks, I'll make videos comparing this camera with the Ricoh GR IV and FUJIFILM X-E5 to get to know the camera a little better. So stay tuned for those, and enjoy this mini vlog I made with the Lumix L10 and Fuji X-E5. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next video. So it's recording.